Madam Speaker. To our Honourable Prime Minister, Minister of Home Affairs, External Communication and National Development Unit, Minister of Finance and Economic Development, whether in regard to alleged police brutality and torture, he will A, for the benefit of the House, obtain from the Police Complaints Division of the National Human Rights Commission information as to the number of reported cases thereof since 1st January 2015 to date, indicating 1, the number of police officers interdicted, prosecuted, and convicted in connection therewith, and 2, where matters stand as to the inquiries carried out in the cases of Messrs. DG and EP, and B, state when the Independent Police Complaints Commission will be operational.
Madam Speaker, with your permission, I am answering to this PNQ. At the very outset, I would like to present my sincere condolences to the bereaved family of late Mr. EP. I note that the Honourable Leader of the Opposition is exercising care and caution in describing the cases of police brutality and torture as alleged cases. Madam Speaker, police brutality is a worldwide occurrence which affects even the most advanced countries. Unfortunately, Mauritius is no exception to it. Having said that, I wish to emphasize that there is no excuse for those who are found to have been involved in any act of police brutality. Madam Speaker, with regard to Part A of the question, I am informed by the Police Complaints Division of the National Human Rights Commission that since 1st January 2015, to date, 541 complaints of alleged police brutality have been referred or reported to the Commission. Out of these cases, in only one case, namely that of late Mr. Mohammed Iqbal Tufani, who passed away in police custody on 2nd March 2015, 5 police officers were arrested. They were interdicted on 4th March 2015, and on the same day, a provisional charge of torture by public official was lodged against them. On 15th July 2015, the case file was referred to the DPP for advice, and on 12th December 2017, the case was referred back to police for further inquiry. On 12th February 2018, the case was referred anew to the DPP, whose decision is being awaited. As regards Part A, 2 of the question, I am informed by the National Human Rights Commission that on 29th January 2018, Mr. DG made a complaint at the QP police station to the effect that he had been a victim of police brutality. Consequently, the Police Complaints Division initiated an investigation pursuant to Section 4A of the Police Complaints Act. The investigation carried out by the Police Complaints Division was twofold. 1, on the allegation of police brutality, and 2, on the allegation of street search. After having examined all the evidence, including statements of Mr. DG and his relatives, as well as the testimony of 16 witnesses and medical reports, entries in diary books and occurrence books, the Police Complaints Division concluded that there had been no act of police brutality committed upon Mr. DG during the time he was in police custody. As regards allegation of street search, on the basis of evidence adduced during investigation, the Police Complaints Division found that the street search was carried out in a humiliating manner. Police officers responsible for the search at the material time failed to take necessary care to protect his privacy. Moreover, the Police Complaints Division found that there was no justification for strip search to be conducted upon Mr. DG. It is to be noted that the photograph of Mr. DG, which was published in several newspapers, showing him naked, was never produced to the Police Complaints Division, since the counsel who took the photograph refused to appear before the division to give evidence. Following the investigation, the Police Complaints Division, pursuant to Section 14(1)(b)(2), has recommended on 8 March 2018 to the Disciplined Forces Service Commission that disciplinary proceedings be instituted against the 3 police officers concerned. The Disciplined Forces Service Commission, after examining the report of the Police Complaints Division, has on the 3rd March 2018 instructed the Commissioner of Police to initiate disciplinary proceedings against the officers concerned. As regards the death of Mr. E.P., following the complaint made by Mrs. A.P., the wife of late Mr. E.P., on 25 March 2018 at Rivière-du-Rempart Police Station concerning police brutality, the Police Complaints Division has, on the next day, initiated an investigation into the case. I'm informed that the matter is still under investigation. In regard to Part B of the question, as the House is aware, the Independent Police Complaints Commission Bill was passed in the National Assembly on 19th July 2016 and assented by the President of the Republic on 22nd July 2016. The purpose of the Act is to set up an independent police complaints commission separate from the National Human Rights Commission. The Commission will investigate into complaints made against police officers in the discharge of their functions other than complaints of acts of corruption or money laundering offenses. Arrangements have already been made for the Independent Police Complaints Commission Act to be proclaimed on 9th April 2018. Following the gazetting of the proclamation order and the swearing in of the chairperson and the members, the Commission will become fully operational. Madam Speaker, I have already and emphatically assured the House, and I am reiterating the assurance that in my capacity as Minister responsible for Defense, I will unflinchingly stand by my undertaking not to tolerate any abuse by any police officer who violates the fundamental rights of our citizens. Any such police officer found and proved after inquiry to be brebis galeuses shall be dealt with in such an exemplary manner and in accordance with the law of the land as to sound a very serious warning to those who may be tempted to emulate them.
Madam Speaker, I had addressed the question to the Prime Minister, because I understand that it is the Prime Minister who appoints. It is the Prime Minister who appoints members of the Police Complaints Division, the National Human Rights Commission, and the forthcoming IPCC. Is it now the case that these institutions fall under the Minister Mentor?
Well, I'm answering this question because I am dealing more with the day-to-day affairs of the police.
Madam Speaker, I have questions on the IPCC. Firstly, I'd like to ask the Minister Mentor whether government is proceeding with the appointment of 2 well-known political activists, one Mr. Falraj Siavansingh, ex-Deputy Lord Mayor, candidate of the MSM, another one Mr. Dicknin Shinghua, also a well-known political activist. Both of these persons are being appointed as commissioners of the supposedly independent Police Complaints Commission. Well, these people are qualified people. They are citizens of this country, and they are entitled to the same treatment as anybody else. If they have been found to be suitable persons, I don't see any reason why they should not be appointed. Speaker, well-known political activist appointed. What will happen when members of the opposition complain about the police engagement by the police or action by the police? We don't. Now I'm going to ask Honourable Minister, Right Honourable Minister Manteau, can you confirm that the monthly salary of these commissioners, part-time commissioners, will be 75,000 rupees per month plus fringe benefits, cars, etc.?
Well, I'm not aware of what their pay is going to be.
Why the question was asked to the Prime Minister, Madam Speaker, because presumably he would have been aware. Madam Speaker, the Right Honourable Minister Manteau has mentioned about inquiries from the Police Complaints Division. I hope he will tell me he doesn't know about the Police Complaints Division, because this is a question. Is he aware that the Police Complaints Division only has 2 investigators presently employed? These are junior people in their 20s from university, and that they've had no training at all. And we, as a nation, are meant to rely on these 2 junior investigators with no training to question all these experienced police officers and come to the truth.
Well, so far they have been doing the job. And if there is any need to increase the number, we'll look into it.
Speaker, the point is that the number has decreased. If you look at the 2016 report, it says there were 6 investigators. Now, my information is today there are only 2 investigators, and they have done this job. Now, this is why I'm asking the Prime Minister, does he really expect the nation, the country, this Parliament, to believe in a report whitewashing the police in this matter, coming from only 2 young investigators at the PCD, and the Police Complaints Division have over the years required appropriate training for these people, and it has never materialized?
Well, I'll ask the Commissioner of Police to look into it.
Question for the Commissioner of Police. It is a question for the National Human Rights Commission, with all due respect, Madam Speaker. Now, time and time again, from the first government program in 2015, we have been promised 2 things. Firstly, I asked our Prime Minister, Minister Manteau, firstly, that cameras would be installed, CCTV cameras would be installed in police stations. I must know about this. Now, my information is that some places in the police stations are covered by cameras, but the most important places where people are interrogated, that is the CID officers, even the CCID at Port Louis, have no CCTV cameras at all. Is he aware of that, and therefore shows no urgency, no seriousness, no diligence on the part of government to address the issue of police torture in CID officers?
Well, I have already talked to the Commissioner of Police about this. Well, in places where there is no camera yet, he tells me that there is a project for placing cameras in all these places, and this will be completed by end of next year.
Speaker, with due respect to the Minister Manteau, in March 2015, answering to a parliamentary question, he himself took the engagement, made the promise that henceforth, I can read it if he wishes, henceforth all statements will be given, interrogations will be made with coverage by CCTV camera and also recording equipment. That was made in response to a PQ in March 2015, when the question was asked with respect to the death of Mr. Tufani.
Well, as I said, this is being done. It takes time. Everything can't be done overnight.
Cameras are installed in private houses every day. I've just had one installed myself. It takes no time at all. I can assure the Right Honourable Minister Manteau. I'd like to ask in response to the Tufani case. With regard to the Tufani case, it's been 3 years now. There's been no formal charges laid. He himself in this room stated that he would speak to the Commissioner of Police every day. This is what he said. Every day so that the case could be resolved quickly. Now we hear that it is only in February 2018, that, this year, that the DPP has had the final case. Can you tell us whether he's satisfied that the police have not deliberately dragged their feet since he's been speaking to the Commissioner every day on this issue?
Whether they have been dragging themselves off their feet, I can't say. All that I know is that police inquiry, according to police, had been completed and the case was sent to the DPP. After DPP studying the whole matter, referred back for further investigation. This has been done and sent back again to the DPP. And we are waiting for the result from the DPP.
Speaker, coming to the David Geikie case, is the Honourable Minister Mentor aware that although Mr. Geikie has said that he can identify the police officers involved, that no parade d'identification has been organized to enable him to do so?
Well, I have not been through the inquiry. If that is so, I will ask the Commissioner of Police why there was no need for this. Well, I've been given a note asking the Honourable Leader of the Opposition. He was in government for 9 years, 2005, 2014.
Order. Order, please.
What has he done for
Order, please.
CCTV cameras? He was finance minister. Did he not find it priority then?
Can we have some order, please? Yes.
Minister Mentor has managed to unite the opposition. Thank you. Madam Speaker, I'd like to ask the Right Honourable Minister Mentor. David Geikie has also alleged, I must say that, I use that word, alleged, this is why we want an inquiry, that he was tortured by use of a taser gun. Has any effort been made to search the premises of the Kirpip CID, which is notorious for torture, I must say? Search the offices of the Kirpip CID and the houses of the officers involved that he could identify, never identified because you didn't answer the question. And has that been done to secure the taser gun involved?
Well, I don't have the answer. I will inquire from the Commissioner whether this has been done.
Madam Speaker, with regard to the Geikie case, anyone who's interested in police brutality will tell you the first thing is to stop collusion between police officers and to stop them from cleaning the scene of the crime. Now, I'd like to ask the Right Honourable Minister Mentor, firstly, how many police officers have been suspended in this horrible case of torture? And secondly, whether the Police Complaints Division attended at the Kirpip police station to see whether there were cameras or not and whatnot, and to secure the area.
Well, the information I have just been given is that Police Complaints Division has found no evidence of police brutality during police custody.
The question, Madam Speaker, was whether they attended there and they secured the area and did the appropriate... I know they have no training for it. Nevertheless, let's work with what we have. Have they done so?
Well, they must have done everything that should have been done to find that there had been no police brutality.
Madam Speaker, going now to the Edison Pachi case. He was arrested, I believe, on a Saturday afternoon around 4 p.m. and brought to the hospital at 9 p.m. He suffered injuries and died of cerebral edema, which is, I think, due to wounds and blows, most probably. Now, how did this occur? What is the explanation so far as to how this person, apparently in good health, who had taken synthetic drugs, everybody is agreed on that, how did he get to die of cerebral edema?
Well, apparently he had swallowed the synthetic drug. And probably this is the cause of death.
Which, Madam Speaker, that he died. There were reports that he died, apparently also, that he suffered from lynching by the public. Is there any entry in any diary book at, I presume, Rivière-du-Rempart police station, that he was lynched by people, and by whom, and what were police action, who the police who witnessed his supposed lynching, which presumably never occurred?
Well, I need a specific question for that. I can answer it. As I had already said, Pachi case is still under inquiry.
Because I'd still like to ask the Honorable Mr. Mento, Mr. Pachi, he himself just said so, ingurgitated some synthetic drugs. Is it not either a case of medical negligence, that when he was taken to hospital at 9 a.m., he was returned to the police cell, or police lack of care of people in their custody when they fail to offer assistance to someone who are obviously sick, either, or maybe from both, beating and having ingurgitated drugs. So why was he returned from the hospital to the police station and died the next day, Madam Speaker, leaving a family, children, etc.?
He was returned most probably because he was not admitted. And it's not the police that admits patients to hospital, it's the doctors.
Yes.
And I hand the floor over.
Yeah, in just the floor to others?
Yes, definitely. Yes, just one thing, and then I will. Madam Speaker, I'd like to ask the Right Honourable Minister Mento, the Police and Criminal Evidence Bill. It was in the previous government, it didn't get through, and it was in our government program. 3 years has gone by. We never hear of it at all. What has happened to the pace, and when will it be introduced in Parliament?
I'm informed by the Attorney General's office that there has been excellent progress in relation to the finalization of the Police and Criminal Justice Bill. Given the scope of the bill will now be known as the Police and Criminal Justice Bill rather than the Police and Criminal Evidence Bill. It is anticipated that the bill will be ready by July this year. Sir Geoffrey Rivlin, QC, whose services have been retained by government, is presently reviewing the codes of practice and the bill, which have been prepared by the Attorney General's office in close collaboration with the Office of the DPP. Once Sir Geoffrey provides his final report on the bill and the codes of practice, the Attorney General's office will finalize the bill and send it to Cabinet for consideration and approval.
Honorable Ganu.
I ask the Honourable Minister Menter, with regard to part B of the question, whether he can give a plausible explanation to this House why this bill, which was voted in 2016, nearly 2 years ago, June of 2016, we are now nearly 2 years, why has it taken so much time for government to set up this Police Complaint Commission Act? Nearly 2 years, it has not yet become operational, especially the Honourable former Prime Minister himself.
Honourable Ganu, I think we should give way.
You
asked your question. I think your question is
Can I finish my sentence?
And would you allow the Honourable Minister
Just one.
to... No, because others should have time to ask questions also. Please allow the Honourable Minister Mento to reply to your first question. Your question is already intelligible. We can understand your question. No, please. No, Honorable Ganu. I have said that we are losing time now because I wanted to give the opportunity to others. Please sit down. I think you have made your point. Honorable Ganu, please sit down. Honorable Ganu, please sit down. Please. This is my ruling. I want to give opportunity to others also to ask questions. Your question is already intelligible. Yes, Honorable Minister Mentor.
Madam Speaker, I have just answered this. The information that I had from the Attorney General's office. It has taken time because it's not a simple matter.
Honorable Baluji.
We have seen in the case of Tufani that the fund is going back and forward from the DPP to the police. We know under Section 110 of the District and Intermediate Court Act, where a magistrate, where in case of investigation, in case of violent death, it says that where a magistrate is informed that a person has died in prison or whilst in police custody, the magistrate himself or herself can immediately start an inquiry with the assistance of professional medical practitioner. Can I ask the Honourable Prime Minister why, in the case of Tufani, and in this particular case, the case of EP, the magistrate has not herself taken on herself to start an inquiry instead of leaving it to the police?
Well, if the magistrate had the power, the magistrate should have done it. And if he has not done it, he should be blamed.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. In the light of the increasing incidents in the number of complaints of excessive brutality by the police, especially police officers from the CID, is it not time that they should undergo psychometric tests by clinical psychologists to weed out those who embark or who does excessive brutality, who do it?
Under the previous government, during the 10 years, there were more than 2,000 complaints. And I would like to know how many people were suspended, how many have been convicted. Then we know these matters. Very often, people make false allegations because it's the easiest way to get away from the wrong which they have done. I mean, even in this case of Patti, this fellow never complained. He made statements and all that. He saw only while he was living.
Please.
While he was living.
Please.
Not when he was dead.
Honorable
Well, if you are stupid enough not
Please.
to understand, it's your fault.
Honorable Balumudi, please. Yes. Honorable Amos, be brief, please.
Yeah, merci,
Because
madame.
Then I'll allow the last question. For
Je me réfère au cas de M. David Garki à la réponse de l'honorable ministre Mentor. Je voudrais savoir si c'est les procédures de la police de dévêtir les suspects pour les interrogatoires.
This, because of the drug problem, this has become a practice. It was not the first time. It was not the first
You've asked a
time.
question.
And there have been many cases.
Allow the Honorable Minister Mentor to reply.
And there have been many cases where drugs have been extracted from the private parts of people. That is why this is done, but in this case, I agree, the police made an abuse. They should not have done what they have done.
Yes, Honorable Leader of Opposition. No, Honorable Amos, please, Leader of Opposition. This is your last question.
Yes, Madam Speaker.
Because
Madam
only
Speaker,
2 minutes
this over-reliance by the police on confessions and the obvious incapacity of the Police Complaints Division now with this phony IPCC coming up clearly require urgent action. I'm going to ask the Right Honourable Minister Mentor whether we should not adopt the practice in India, which is for confessions now to be made directly in front of a magistrate, not in a police station. It's not perfect, but at least it will enable some sort of independence and verification. Now, it's not difficult to do. I would appeal to the Right Honourable Mr. Mentor, who says he's very keen to have this sorted out, but doesn't appear to be doing much. Nevertheless, can we have some concrete action, CCTV, as I said, confessions in front of the magistrate, upgrading, SOCO, etc., so that this practice of beating people, torturing people to get confessions, we put a stop to this right now.
Well, insofar as taking statement from somebody who is suspected of having committed a crime by the magistrate, for this confession, for this, we'll have to change the law and make provision for that so that a magistrate can be present at that particular moment to record the statement in front of the magistrate.